Hello, people.
Hi, everybody.
Can you see us? If so, please say that, because we cannot confirm that to ourselves.
I can see that they can see us.
Good. I love that. Hey, look, people. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mike.
I'm Trevor.
Yay. So we're here at the end of the Basket of Adorables campaign for the Kickstarter for Game Theory in the Age of Chaos Goes to Washington. That's this book right here, Game Theory in the Age of Chaos. See, it's pretty.
That book.
Yep. And yeah, we're here just to watch the end of the campaign and answer your questions. Some of you have already sent questions, which is nice, and we'll just get into it. So, Trevor, what would you like to do?
Talking like I'm ready to bring up questions.
No, I am not. In fact, I have questions.
Okay. Well, Trevor, what about me? You want me to do something?
Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Trevor Kidd. I work for Mike.
But not in this.
Not in this capacity.
This capacity,
this
we're like
joining the Basket of Adorables because it's pretty awesome.
We are tight-knit unit.
Yes, we're like this.
Are we like that?
Right now we are.
I guess
that's
that's
the exact moment.
That's pretty great. By the way, if you do that to Gabby, she takes your head off.
Oh no, I wouldn't. Yeah, I try not to do that with people.
No,
it was safe with you.
That's very safe.
No, I was brought in on this project when Mike was like, "Hey, look, do you want to do some stuff with this?" And I was like, "Yes, I believe in all these things you were talking about."
Yeah, actually, so a lot of people have been asking, is this a Lone Shark Games campaign? And it isn't, because during the day we do Lone Shark Games and we make cool games and puzzles and stuff like that. But everybody at the company is pretty supportive of us doing these crazy things. This sort of stunt business that we're in to try to help out democracy and all that. And so basically everybody kicks in some level of effort all the time, whether it's Liz, who made the cover of the book, or Trevor here, who handled all the Kickstarter updates and all that, which was great.
Gabby, who of course has been with you for
quite
a while.
Yeah, it's basically her idea.
Yeah.
At some point, Gabby was like, "We gotta do something," and I was like, "What do people like us do? There's no manual for we don't have." What do you call those skills?
But,
right? We don't have what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to Washington and organize people and stuff. No, we don't have that. What we have is we're kind of entertaining.
I mean, and I don't know if I'd say that about myself, but
you're part.
You
of
and Gabby are definitely kind of.
You're part of the entertainment, and so we definitely had a great time. Starting Basket of Adorables and making the book, the Ghastly Trump Tinies, and then we thought that'd be about it because there was no chance Donald Trump would win the presidency. Woo! We were so right.
Man, I'm glad we were right about that. Yeah, dodged a bullet.
Could have been pretty bad.
Could have been pretty bad for at least 2 to 4 years.
Yeah, no, thankfully that didn't happen. But in this universe, this version of Basket of Adorables actually kept going, and we made a book, and you guys were really awesome in helping us fund it and get it to Washington DC, which we should talk about to some extent as to what that will be about.
For the Game Theory in the Age of Chaos book.
Get it, and then we'll do that maybe in a little bit, but yeah, we should talk about what the plan is, because we do have a plan. So anyway, that's what we did, and there's 25 minutes to go in the campaign, and we are at $10,287.
Yeah, I feel which
is fantastic.
Yeah, Mike and I were talking about
fantastic.
If we hadn't hit 10,000 by now, it would have been really easy to be like, "Woo, hype, push us over the 10,000 mark." But now it's like,
no.
All right, let's get to 12,500.
Yeah, nobody gets excited by. Please help us get to $11,250.
Yeah, let's not.
No one does.
Yeah, let's not.
No, we're thrilled that we're at $10,000. That's pretty much was my direct target as to what I hope the campaign would do, to give you a sense of what that's like. The Ghastly Trump Tinies raised about $10,000 for the Clinton campaign and for the Southern Poverty Law Center. And so this now is a project that is comparable, and though it's not charity-based, we'll be sending it to Washington, which is kind of a very cool thing to do. And that's all because of 228 backers as of 23 minutes to go, who were generous enough to help us out. So I think that was awesome.
Woohoo.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's that. That's that. We should say Gabby's at dinner with her in-laws. Not in-laws, that's wrong. She's not married.
All I know is family.
Yeah. But I mean, so she would love to be here, and she's waving to you from afar, but she is afar. Yeah. So we'll get her on the next one. Cool.
We still have the Brumbjorns.
Yeah, they're, as you can see, red, white, and blue behind us, representing the silent majority. Yeah. This country, a lot of people don't know, nearly entirely populated by mouthless bears.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mouthless, fuzzy bears.
You just don't see them. But we bring them out.
I feel like being mouthless is either a horror movie thing or somehow, like, you guys are cute, so they don't remind me of a horror movie.
No. They're from IKEA. They're a lost...
really?
No, yeah. We ended up... So we saw all these Brumbjorns in IKEA, like, and we bought... I think we bought like 12 of them because we thought they were so cool. And we gave them to a number of people, and then they were gone. Like, they don't exist anymore. You can't find any traces.
They were so popular.
I swear to God, the only trace of them on the internet is associated with us.
Okay.
Yeah, like, you can find them in half a dozen of our videos and puzzle games and stuff like that. But for now...
going to send us a cease and desist now.
Sure. But for now, red, white, and blue Brumbjorn representing America.
We like it.
Yeah. So, cool. So, let's do something. What do you want to do first?
Well, you said you had some questions.
I did. I got some questions from the audience.
Let's do some of those.
Sure. Okay. Question number 1 is from Will. Will Z. And
Will Z's in chat right now.
Yeah. I'm not going to say his name because he might want to be anonymous.
Well, it's Will Zambo.
He wants to be anonymous.
No, but
I see that. But I mean, I just want to be very careful.
Okay.
You know, when this gets used as evidence.
That may not be Will Z.
Yeah, you don't know. So he says... How will game theory answer the question, who's the next president of the U.S. in 2 years?
That's a good question.
Isn't that a fantastic question?
Man, I wish I knew more game theory.
I will attempt to disgorge some.
Yeah, there we go.
So that's a very interesting question because obviously game theory is a modeling agent. It's not meant to be a predictive... it's not meant to predict actual individual events, right? Like, nobody comes in and says, oh, I see John Nash pointed this out 75 years ago and thus it came true. Like, that's not the intent. The intent is to figure out what people will do.
So we need Nostradamus now.
Yeah, but that's not this book, sadly. So what game theory does is it says, I'm going to create some constructs, and they will either be competitive or cooperative games. And usually they're for 2 people. So, for example, the one that everybody knows about, which is the weird one, is the prisoner's dilemma, where you and another friend are thrown in jail, and we'll see if one of you rats the other one out. Spoiler, you will. Anyway, so when you talk about big groups, so we had an interesting dynamic. We always have an interesting dynamic with the presidential elections, is that we have 2 different kinds of games that happen. One is an N-player game, where N is represented by all the people on one side of the aisle who come together to fight for the right to be nominated, right? So in that case, what you have is, last time we had 17 Republicans. It's staggering, right? They had one point where they tried to do debates, and they had a pre-debate for some of the candidates because they couldn't fit all the candidates on stage. So they literally had 2 debates, right? So that seems crazy, all those people. Well, what game theory does is it says, all right, that's a lot of people. It's a lot of noise. We can't really deal with it. Fine. What we're going to do is we're going to reduce it to a whole bunch of 2-player games. We're going to get them down to 2 players, and we're going to see head-to-head what they will do in that context based on their goals and their tools.
Gotcha.
Right? And I can give you a really clear example of it, because you were like looking at those debates, and you're like, oh my God, there's so much noise. All these people, what is it going on? Well, remember when we thought, I was about to say Ricky Rubio, not him, Marco Rubio, was going to be a serious presidential contender. Remember that?
Um,
Do you remember when we thought he was going to be like, oh my God, if Hillary Clinton goes up against him? You know what changed that? Chris Christie. Chris Christie came along and just body slammed Rubio into the tarmac. Showed that he was a complete empty suit. That he was a robot that misfired on stage, and then he was done. He was out, right? And could Chris Christie win the presidency? No. He's a New Jersey governor with a 15% approval rating, right? No, he can't win the presidency, but he can win the battle against Marco Rubio.
Yeah.
Could Donald Trump win the battle against Marco Rubio? No, because he kept trying. He kept trying to call him Little Marco, and Little Marco was fine against Trump.
Yeah. But
he lost straight up to Chris Christie. And so when we see that kind of battle happening, we sort of put everybody up against each other and go, all right, what is that going to be? So you can sort of predictively model what each of those candidates is going to be like against each other. And then eventually you will get down to one candidate on that side, one candidate on the other side. Now you got a totally different game.
So we can't necessarily make a predictive model of okay, so who's our best possible candidate,
right?
To throw everybody we can think of.
You can absolutely do that, right? I mean, like in the sense that you can say, all right, if you take Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and put them against each other, you look at their capabilities and their, who's in favor of them and so forth. You can say, okay, Kamala Harris wins this one. Mm-hmm. I'm making that up. Of course, I don't know whether Kamala Harris wins that one. But against Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden wins that one, right? And then you just stack. You build these stacks up based on what you think they'll do and how that will play. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, you'll get down to one candidate. I don't know if you'll do it solely using game theory. A lot of luck and a lot of so forth. But I mean, the real question, of course, is that somebody's going to come out of that pack, and if he's not in jail, go up against Donald Trump. Yeah, and then you have to worry about what incumbency does. Right. Incumbency is an unfair element of game theory. Right, it says that there's a bonus that says if you're already there, you get to win. And we've played lots of games. Can you imagine just playing Monopoly where the guy who owns the game just starts out with an extra $10 million?
Yeah, that's a little.
That's essentially what incumbency is. Yeah. And so incumbency was really smashed down this year in the Senate elections, and especially in the House of Representatives. So who knows? It may not mean anything. And especially this guy. If this guy rolls in with a 32% approval rating, I don't think incumbency is going to really work for him.
There you go.
Those are my answers.
So it sounds like you and Rich have another book to write, or at least a set of articles. Yep. It is taking all the players out there right now and then using game theory to match them up against to see how who takes out who and who ends up being the top two contenders.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to know who's actually running. That's a step.
That'll be. I mean, I'm just gonna assume everybody we've heard about possibly running is running.
Yeah.
Like what's his name? The kid from Florida. From the school who had the shooting.
Oh, yeah. He's too young.
Hey, he's going to run. He's going to run.
A little too young to take the job if he gets it.
So, how old do you have to be to run for president?
0. You could be 0 to run.
You just can't win.
Yeah, exactly. You could be from Swaziland. Like, it doesn't matter. But if you win the job, you better be 35 years old and a natural-born citizen of the United States, or you don't get to play.
That's interesting. You can run without being 35.
Nothing stops you. You can't collect campaign contributions.
Can you run? So you can run when you're 34, and if your birthday's before.
Oh, I don't know if anybody's ever done that. That's fascinating.
I don't think we've had a president that young.
Yeah, I think that works, right? I mean, like, if you're going to say that on January 21st, 2021, you're going to be here's the question. Is the kid from Florida, right? Yeah. Nate, right? Yeah. Is he running for the election in 2036?
Oh, there we go.
Right.
Starting campaigning now.
Yeah, right. Like, I mean...
Well, I thought that's what, like, being part of the Senate and Congress was.
Right, but I mean, you would think he would probably make that route, right? But in theory, he could start a campaign. Like, oh my God. One of the most broken things in the world right now is high school recruiting for basketball, right? Oh, yeah. Right? Where you just say, oh, they're going to sign this kid, when he's in middle school,
Mhm.
right? It's crazy.
Mhm.
Like, this just shouldn't be possible.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's what he'd be doing. He'd be saying, I've been running for president now.
Yeah.
Can't take the job, not going to win. Going to run for president again, can't take the job, not going to win. Now that I'm old enough, you've seen me.
Yeah.
I think you should elect me.
Yeah.
Boom, in.
Or does that lessen your credibility because
yeah.
people have seen you basically do this knowing you're not going to be wasting their time and yours and blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
I don't know. I think that's a fascinating question. That would be a fun article to write.
I guess that's the way it would be bit by the other side.
Yep.
Stop wasting our time.
Stop wasting our time. All right, so what do we do now?
I guess you could answer another question.
I could. So I got one from Andrew H.
Okay.
Who is not going to say it's necessarily the person in the chat.
I don't know who that could possibly be.
No, not going to say that. He says, are you concerned about the ideas in this book being weaponized by the forces of evil? I like every word in that sentence, by the way.
Yeah.
That is clearly a writer at work.
I feel like you're in our brains.
Right, because I mean, he could have written it as, are you concerned that the GOP might attempt to model some of the examples that you share in this book and thus profit in the long run? Which would be a terrible question. But this one's a great question. Yeah.
But the answer to that question you just asked is they've already done that.
Yeah. So that's actually, no, I mean, that in some sense it's actually right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because one thing I write a lot about is what Max Temkin writes around in the foreword, which is that when Obama was in office, he felt that that Obama was playing chess and the Republicans were playing checkers. Right. He just felt Obama was just that much smarter. Right. Well, now he fears that the Democrats are still playing Obama's style of chess, which is great, and the Republicans have taken their pieces off the board.
Yeah.
Right. Like they just said, we don't game.
Yeah. And
then it's like, well, what do you do if you're a game theorist? You actually figure out that they're still playing the game.
Yeah.
And you figure out how.
The article that I think you wrote, I don't know if this one was in the book.
No, it's
the one that you wrote
recent.
was it's talking about legacy games. Oh yeah, it was a recent one. It was a legacy game one where the rules change, but you're still playing the old game.
You're still playing the old game, right?
Versus playing the new legacy rule game.
Exactly. So yeah, we definitely feel that something is changing in the political sphere. Like I think you could have actually written game theory for politics in 1955 based on what you had, right? What you had from John Nash, what you had from John Maynard Keynes, what you had from a lot of other people, economists and stuff like that. Just looked at it, and everything they said would have held true till about 2008. What happened then? Well, a black guy got elected president, and everything changed. Right? I mean, like everything changed. I mean, this hat is relevant to that, right? I mean, like there were a lot of people who were like, well, we're not letting that happen again.
Yeah.
We're not doing that.
Like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
You mean you're not going to let a black person? Why would that be a bad?
Exactly. And so, yeah, at some point, the rules just started to be different. The old models didn't work. That's why I started writing this stuff, because there was this feedback loop in my brain. All the stuff I had been taught about game theory wasn't functioning right. Something new was going on. So I had to open it up again and say, all right, am I right about this? Do I remember this correctly? Whether it's these, various things like the stag hunt and stuff like that. I was just like, no, it still holds. You just have to look a little deeper.
Yeah.
But it is definitely worrisome.
Yeah. It's that game theory thing too, where you and I are talking about where someone's, what level thinker are you? It's like if you look at it and be like, oh, here's a political game.
Exactly.
And that's the game that everybody's playing.
Yeah, that's key.
And then someone's up on the next level. Well, since everybody's playing this political game,
right,
I'm going to play this next type of political game. And then you go, how deep do you go?
Right. And then
what assumptions do you make?
And
about
then
your
it becomes
opponents?
ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Because John Maynard Keynes is one of the great economists of all time, and he analyzed it that way and said, well, the right answer, is for everyone to do nothing.
Yeah.
And yet everyone doesn't do nothing.
We can't do that. We're incapable.
Right. So it's not working perfectly.
Yeah.
And that's great, because the right answer is for everyone. The right answer in a prisoner's dilemma is for everyone to be a betrayer all the time.
Yeah. And
we don't live in that society. We're better than that. And so we must be better than that to some greater reward system than game theory lets us model. Rich calls that, Rich Molina Weber, who writes the essays, calls that feature love.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a game theory term. Like, I'm not really...
I don't think so. It sounded like Rich was trying to basically bridge the gap between the math part of it and humanity.
Yeah, and I don't know where he came up with that, or if he got it from somewhere, but it's really interesting to call that feature love, because love is one of those things that we say is a mystery, right? It's like, it's not meant to follow rational rules. That's the point, right? Whereas game theory is like, all I got is rules. Yeah. Like, all I got to work with here is rules. And so yeah, it's great to see that in conflict. We have 8 minutes to go in the campaign. Here's a question I have for you.
For me?
Because you set this up.
Okay.
Does this just shut off in 8 minutes?
No, I don't think so. I think
this thing doesn't shut off? Okay. Just making sure.
It's not linked to in the campaign.
Okay. I was a little worried that it was just like, and you're done.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
If it does, then I'm completely wrong. And,
no, well, we're very experienced.
Early good night to all of you.
Trevor sent a note over today. It says, I don't want to look unprofessional. And I was like, you're going to look unprofessional. This is our first time doing this thing, so we wanted to get it right. Okay.
So to address that question directly, are we worried that for the forces of evil
will they get this book?
And
right. Well, that's why I guess the logic is that they can't do better than they're doing. They're no longer playing by rules that require strategy. They're not being strategic. They're blocking everything. Right. Now, Trump's different. Trump's a wild card, but the Republicans in Congress have basically been playing the same thing from the beginning, which is just, I built this wall, metaphorical, and you can't get through it. That's it. That's our game. That's what we got. And there's no strategy to that. It's just a declaration that no one else will succeed if we can't. Yeah. And that's their game, is they're not actually succeeding at anything.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, like, there's more to it than what you just said, right? Like, the wall is like, let's make rules about gerrymandering X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And let's make, this amount of people is what's needed to pass votes, instead of like that guy's like, there's a lot of stuff that they've done to remain in power, for example. That's less of playing a game and more changing the rules as you go.
Yep. We got some more questions in there. Do we want to take a break from that and do anything else?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Oh, from questions?
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, we could go ahead. You want to do a reading from?
I could read
from your current favorite.
I could do that. Yeah, sure.
And then we can talk a little bit about that specific example.
Yeah. Well, so there's a book. There's one. Everything in here is kind of like, let me tell you about nuclear war, right? And it's like there's only so much you can get. Like, eventually you go, okay, God, you're wearing me down.
This doom and gloom part's really
seriously
doom and gloomy.
So I wrote one the day after Gabby and I were mesmerized by an event that occurred. We had workday. We had a full workday planned, and we were completely thrown off by the fact that a raccoon was running up the side of the building.
And it wasn't just you, like, the whole nation, as far as I can tell, it wasn't just our little group, was not everybody, it's just my hyperbole here when I say the whole nation, but everybody on social media and news outlets and everybody was talking about this raccoon that I first heard about on NPR.
Oh, no question. And so NPR Raccoon and the Puzzle of Hope is a piece in here, and I'll just read it, and shouldn't take long. Should take a couple minutes, probably take us to the end of the campaign, and then we'll do some more questions.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yesterday, a bold raccoon scaled the UBS bank building in downtown St. Paul, riveting the internet to their computers all day and all night. Minneapolis Public Radio adopted the raccoon's cause under the hashtag NPR Raccoon. No human could help the raccoon without potentially frightening her into a deadfall. The St. Paul Fire Department declared it could not risk a firefighter's life for a being it would chase out of the firehouse with a broom. Despite the viewers' cries for everything from breaking windows to pizza, our little pal was on her own. A cynic's view of this is that America was watching an animal die in real time. Only one step back from Naked and Afraid and only a half step away from televised executions, watching an animal potentially fall to her death or expire from dehydration was something uniquely 2018. But that's not how it wasn't seen at all. That wasn't how it's seen at all. NBR Raccoon was a tale of American industriousness, of perseverance in the face of overwhelming odds, of hope. Overmatched by architectural complexity and exhaustion, our furry hero, by the way, we named her Rabbit after Thor's name for Rocket in Infinity War, right? Our furry hero sussed out how to scamper up to safety in the dark of night. Cat treats and cages were waiting for her on the roof, which she reached over 18 hours into her journey. How she got there is worthy of the game theory analysis I give to events like negotiations between North Korea and the U.S., which also occurred this week and was a lot less riveting than the Raccoon. That's because Presidents Trump and Kim didn't solve the world's biggest level of Frogger ever played. Yeah, Frogger. I mean, you remember Frogger, right? Yeah. Is a classic puzzle video game where you play a hapless amphibian who foolishly hops across a crowded and deadly freeway. Up, left, right, left, down, up, freedom! But despite having no speeding trucks, our bandit's path was no less deadly than the Froggies. It started from a 7-story roof and straight up the north wall's central column. Along the way, we saw how closely a raccoon climbs. Claws hooked in from the side, belly stabilizing against the curvature of the column. As Rabbit hopped from window to window, resting at times, it was obvious that the critter was born of millions of ascended trees throughout the millennia. To our heroine, the columns of the bank wall was just an astonishingly regular forest, which made it all the more terrifying when she got up to the 23rd floor and realized that the last 20 feet were a sheer, flat wall. There were no trees like that anywhere. Suddenly, Rabbit went from imperiled to doomed. For 6 agonizing hours in the dark of night, she pondered her mortality. Then she bolted up to the vent grates above and found no recourse there. She could stick her weary paw into the grate, but forcing herself through that wasn't happening. Dejected, Rabbit clambered down 1 story, and 2 bright new possibilities emerged. The first was scaling down the entire building. Around midnight, that's what she began to do, descending from the 23rd floor to the 17th. That was a long, perilous journey down. But then another path to success opened up. In her descent, she moved 3 windows to the right and ended up on the corner column, which went all the way to the roof. Now, Gabby and I could see it, but could our little buddy? Resting on the first windowsill of the west wall, Rabbit occasionally looked up through the darkness. She had imperfect information about what lay ahead. Who knew what was meandering through her nectarine-sized brain on a night like this? Well, triumph, that's what. Around 3 a.m., Rabbit took off the corner column, run, Rabbit, run, and then boop, over the rooftop. Rabbit could relax. So could an exhausted nation. In the process, I mapped her route. I counted 19 windows and grates over 5 columns and 7 floors of the building. That was a strategy worthy of a Frogger high score in every way. I don't know if Rabbit ever felt hopelessness in her epic journey. I know we all have felt it over these last 2 years. The world's spinning toward a wholehearted embrace of corruption, regression, and aggression at the hands of a man-child president and his evil cronies. That picture of Angela Merkel, Shinzo Abe, and the rest of the G7 exasperated at the unthinkable bore in front of them just seems like all of us who don't wear MAGA caps. And the president's lobbying for Russia and the warm embrace of dictator Kim just cemented it. Although maybe for some good, maybe. Probably not. Mostly we just got fleeced because our great negotiator is an unprincipled doof. Hopelessness is a reasonable response to all this chaos. But Frogger tells us never to think like this, and for the most part, we don't. I've described the difference between a puzzle and a game thusly. A game is an activity where a fairly constructed 2 sides given the same advantages will have a roughly equal chance to win. A puzzle is an activity where, if fairly constructed, one side will have all the advantages, preparation, skill, knowledge of the answer, and despite all of that, the disadvantaged side is expected to win. Puzzle games by their nature are not unsolvable. They may be hard. They may be fiendish, in fact, but they have at least one answer, or they're not puzzles. Deep down, humans know this, but here's what they also know. Some of us are not good at puzzles. We don't even want to be. It's not what we do. Instead, we let other people solve our problems. Presidents, for example. Well, we can't always do that. Sometimes we're presented with a puzzle and we just have to solve it on our own. There's no help coming. We just have to think our way through to the answer, which is right in front of us. There's a corner column somewhere. It leads straight to the top. We will find it soon. Just remember, it wasn't terribly great in 2008 either. We responded to an attack on U.S. soil by embroiling ourselves in 2 forever wars. Wall Street deregulation crushed the housing market, setting up a brutal Great Recession. We tortured people a lot. It was bad. A smart, kind man came by holding a little book called The Audacity of Hope. He'd solved the puzzle of hopelessness and had some ideas about those other problems the Bush administration and its evil cronies inflicted upon us. It was going to be hard, maybe fiendish, but there were answers. There always are. Till we find them, just make sure you're on the right pillar and keep climbing. I like that.
Yeah. Look, there's some Disney-esque messages in there, too.
Yeah, look, I mean, I didn't come up with that on my own, right?
Well, you did.
But I mean, we're
Disney didn't come up with that on their own either.
We're watching this and we're just like, man, this is what we need right now.
Yeah.
We need a raccoon, and we need it to live.
Yeah, we need hopeful stories.
And when she got over, we were just like, oh my god, that's.
Guybrush.
Okay, so I have some news. Hey, it's Guybrush.
Yeah, Guybrush is in the video.
That was the news.
Yep.
Hey, Guybrush. No, the news is the campaign's ended.
Yay!
Sure, whatever.
Indifferent about that part.
Yeah, but final number $10,287, 228 backers. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you.
It's great. We are very excited because this tells us that we can. We made a good decision. In that. That's about what it will cost, right? In the sense of printing the books and getting them here and getting them to Congress and getting them to the backers. It's basically, we were willing to do it, as we said, for the 200 or 2,820, which was really just the postage because we don't really want to pay for postage like everyone else in the world. But that actually covers all our costs, and that means that we have some more books that people will get. We'll be sending them out. Obviously, we really want to thank our international backers who we did not let participate in sending the books to Congress because we don't believe that foreign people should meddle in our elections. Yeah. It's kind of a thing around these parts.
We kind of stuck to that.
Yeah. But we really appreciate you guys, too, and we'll be getting those books out. Now, as far as the books themselves, we've been watching the progress. When the campaign began, all the books were still coming off the assembly line and such. They left during the campaign. They left their printing source there, and they're making their way to Orlando, Florida, which is where they'll get distributed from. So, we got a little time for all that to work out, but it's going to be real soon.
We all like to under-promise and over-deliver, but I really like to under-promise and over-deliver.
Sure.
So I'm just going to say it's going to be what the Kickstarter said it was.
Yeah. We said April.
Yeah. So it'll be April.
Yeah.
And if it's sooner, then we're all happy.
Yeah, if it works out that way, great. But it's going to be soon. There's one thing we wanted to do. I mean, we timed this campaign in a very specific way because we wanted to make sure that the election that we thought was going to happen actually happened. Yeah. The way we thought it would be, because I don't know if you know, but we didn't quite have it right in 2016.
Yeah.
So it did happen that way, which is great. Won back the House, all that. And then there's a small problem. Those people have to get settled.
Yeah.
Right? Like they don't have offices yet.
Yeah.
They don't know. So we got to make sure we have all their right addresses and all that stuff. And then we also have to make sure we have all your right addresses. So those will come in too. So it's going to take us some number of weeks and or months.
Yeah.
And
we'll have, the same kind of things that the Kickstarter stuff has afterwards where you can, we'll be verifying your address like Mike says. We'll be verifying the backer level that you backed out, all that kind of stuff. So
we'll send out.
And if I'm wrong, Shane, back at the Shane, who's kind of helping out as well. Yeah. Will tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah. We'll also have digital downloads ready for folks. The PDF. We hit 10,000. Yeah. So that means that the EPUB and Mobi files will be created for reading on your Kindle or Nook or whatever the rest of those
things.
And
you already gave away the puzzle that you were going to hold off.
I did. Yeah, I was like the reason I didn't like the message, which is I'm going to hold this hostage unless screw that. Like the ebooks aren't done. Like if we didn't reach that goal, Shane would go.
Yeah.
Right. But the puzzle was done. I'm just basically taunting people.
I wanted to see you like if we didn't get to 10,000, just like hold up the physical puzzle.
Yeah, you can solve it now.
No, and just burn it in the camera. Like you can't have this puzzle.
No, it's really not me, as it turns out.
No, not at all.
So it turns out that every campaign we've ever run, we've hit every stretch goal.
Yeah,
it's pretty great. So anyway, we'll have those out. But yeah, it was a fantastic campaign. Thank you for running it, Gabby, everybody, Shane, Sean, all the people who helped, Liz, Aviva.
Yeah, thanks for all the adorables.
Yeah, all the adorables. Max, Rich, all those guys.
Some of the adorables like to remain anonymous.
No, yeah. Do you want to answer more questions?
Let's go ahead. We got a couple more. So we'll go ahead and answer those. So
all right.
The one from Will first.
Sure. How does a third-party contender change the dynamics of an election?
I mean, that's a good point too, because a lot of the stuff we were talking about was boiling it down to two people, in a two-player game.
That's right. Well, we saw this year. We saw Maine do something amazing. Now, Maine is a weird state. I mean, if you've been to Maine, you already know that. But on every level politically, Maine is bonkers. They're a liberal state with possibly the most right governor there possibly could be in Paul LePage. It doesn't make any sense, right? And so, they did ranked choice voting this year. And everyone expected that it will end up in court, and it probably will, but they actually went through the process of this guy didn't win a majority. But 3 weeks later, well, now after we've done the ranked choice voting, it turns out this guy did win the election.
Yeah.
It really does change the dynamic catastrophically.
Yeah.
And I use that word because absent a ranked choice, voting for a third party is disastrous. Now, you may have reasons to do it. Your reasons can be very valid. First reason, obviously, is you're dissatisfied with the two choices that you have. Yeah. So you want to vote for another one in hopes that if enough people do that, that one will rise up and become somehow equal with the others. And that's never happened, at least since the Whigs went away.
Well, what about the Bull Moose Party?
The Bull Moose Party did not actually get to be big enough to do that. Yeah. But the Know Nothings, right? We've had my favorite party, the Democratic Republican Party, and it's important to know that does happen every few hundred years or every 100 years or whatever, but it's not happening now.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't like to use the phrase throwing your vote away because I don't think that's fair, and I don't think it's accurate either. I mean, you're doing something. You're saying, I don't want to support the two choices I have. Yeah. Totally reasonable, and in a time of rationality, I think there's some value to it. And in a time of complete irrationality like the 2016 election, I think it's disastrous. Yeah. And because you gain nothing and you lose everything. Yeah. So we like to think that human beings don't do that, but it turns out many of them do.
We don't think with math heads on any of this stuff.
That's right. Like there's the love thing, and the love thing says you can flip it all around and say, I'm going to be supporting what I think is the only way in America turns out great is if we support the Green Party. Well, it turns out the Green Party was represented by Jill Stein, who, might have some close connections with Vladimir Putin. All of that is really scary, right? And so if we don't have good alternatives, what we have are just bad decisions. And it's a shame, though, because you want people who want to vote third party to feel like they're participating in the process without being shouted down by people like me all the time, because that can't possibly influence them to vote in ways that benefit them as a person. But it is to me a huge mistake, and it produces warped results. There is no question that the margin of victory in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania was equal to the third party votes or less.
Yeah.
And you can always flip that around and say, well, maybe the Democrats should have run a better candidate. Maybe the Democratic candidate should have shown up in Wisconsin for once, right? All those things are totally rational things to say. Yeah. But at the point you're actually pulling the lever, if you're a liberal, you cannot vote for a more liberal candidate if you are fearful of the Republican actually winning.
Yeah.
And so, it changes things in a trend. I'm definitely writing one of those, but closer to the next election.
Yeah. So does Game Theory say specifically anything about adding a third?
Yeah.
A third thing into the
so
dynamic?
Absolutely. It basically, as I said before about individual candidates, the same thing applies. What happens is that we build them into models of each one against the other, right? And so the liberal, let's just say there's liberal left, center left, and right, right? Let's not put names on the parties. We compare the right candidate to the left candidate, and we say, oh, the left candidate's going to win. Great, fantastic. All right, what does the left candidate do to the center left candidate? Oh, it sucks off about 20% of the vote. Oh, now the right candidate wins. Gotcha. So now the left candidate, the center left candidate has to tack to the left, right? They have to represent the values of the people on the left, because if they don't, they will lose. Yeah. But if they do, then they may lose support in the middle. Yeah. And support in the middle turns out to be the most important support you can have. And so it's complicated. You can't, my belief is you cannot model a three-person election in a way where one of them has no chance of winning for it to be a valid strategy to vote for all three of them. And that is unfortunate. Yeah. Like, I don't want to be right about that.
No, it's the way the system is right now.
I don't want to be right about that. I want there to be people voting for people who they like.
One day, but probably not in my lifetime.
Yep.
That's the way I feel about it.
We got a question that's very easy for me to answer from Jacob F. Could you publish your lovely crossword as a Puzz file? Hey, Jacob, if you go to my Facebook page, you will find that down in the comments, I actually did that. So just go there now, and you can download it. A Puzz file is a type of thing that allows you to solve inside what would be the equivalent of an e-reader inside a puzzle book, or an online puzzle book, basically. Yeah, just go down there and go to my Facebook page, which is totally open to everyone. Take a look at the post I made about crossword puzzle, and go down there and you'll get that there. There's also a PDF there for folks. Andrew writes, can we find my Facebook page name is Mike Selinker. Good luck. Jacob, if you can't solve that, I don't feel good about your chances of solving
you got this. We can also post it on
we'll post it. Andrew, can we find a more potent incentive than money to affect politics? And if so, can we do it in the next 12 months? I would like to say that money gets a bad rap.
I feel like Andrew just was it Andrew?
Yeah.
I feel like Andrew asked, like, can we invent spice from June?
Yeah, exactly.
And can we do it in the next 12 months?
I think money gets a bad rap. A lot of people think money should be driven out of politics and to create an environment but I think money actually turns out to be one of the most powerful forces for good that we've got. I mean, look at the campaign of Beto O'Rourke.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, what happened was a situation where in normal circumstances, a liberal in Texas probably doesn't get close, right? Just doesn't get close. But outside money said, no, this guy's good.
Yeah.
And he got close. So much so that I swear, I still can't believe this, that a person who actually lost an election is now the leading candidate for the presidency of the United States.
I don't want him to run yet.
No, why would you want that?
I mean, I know you were joking earlier.
No, seriously.
I want him to get some stuff under his belt, and then I want him to run.
Yeah, that's exactly right. No, you're totally right.
Pretty awesome.
He does seem awesome. He seems like a great guy. I love seeing him tour with Willie Nelson. It's fantastic. Right? Andrew's home state is that state, right? And so I can see why
you're giving people a little too much information about
Andrew H. It's not right. I want Texas to flip to be at least purple, and unreliably red at the very least, right? And I believe that's possible, and it's only possible due to the influence of outsiders with money. And so there's really no better method that people have come up with to move the needle. Yeah. The other one that gets a bad rap is so you pay for airtime when you're a candidate, obviously. But there's this other thing that happened in the 2018 election, which is that Donald Trump dominated the news. He received like $2 billion worth of free advertising from the, and so in absence of money, the bad guy still wins, right?
Yeah.
So we might as well get comfortable with money. Yeah. We might as well get comfortable with it being like the force that we want to control, because it turns out that we've got a lot of it. The Hollywood elite turns out to be a pretty damn powerful force, and so I just think it's simplistic to be just frustrated by the effect of money in politics. What usually this is about is my underdog can't possibly win, which is true in any circumstance. Your underdog won't win.
Yeah. Well, unless you can give them more money.
Yeah, but Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez didn't win because of money. She won because she didn't have any, right? She won because she was just a really cool person.
Yes.
And John Ossoff had all the money in Georgia and didn't win in 2016. But this year, that seat flipped to Democrat.
Yep.
And it wasn't because of a massive onrush of external capital. This time, it was just a better candidate.
Yeah.
Maybe one who lived in the district. Like that's, it's easy to laugh, but it's like, yeah,
it's kind of important.
That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Run people from inside the district who resonate with folks. Yeah. So anyway, those are some answers to questions. Maybe those will be the basis. Like, I'd love to write a piece about money in politics. I should probably do that.
Well, so you wrote a book about Gatsby Trump Chinese.
I did?
And that was prophetic, unfortunately. I think most of the stuff in that book has happened.
Yeah, there's still a few things we still
I really hope they don't. The ones that are left, I really hope don't happen.
Z is really bad. Like, that's the apocalypse.
There's some bad stuff in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, just be careful with whatever next book you write.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's certainly, like, we're writing about dangerous things. There is always the danger that I write a thing and no one has thought of the thing that seems obvious to me, and then they run with it. Mm-hmm. And it turns out the wrong people do that. And I don't want that. Yeah. But how else do you, the science leads me to specific conclusions. So I can't really just not publish them unless I think they're bad.
No. It's all good. So, we do have one last question from Jacob.
Oh, sorry, not about the crossword puzzle?
Not about the crossword puzzle.
I have found, the question is, do you have any sense of Congress people's reading habits?
The follow-up questions I'll go.
Does this book kind of fit in stylistically, or it's them actually reading it a gamble? Okay. I know a few Congress people. I
learned this when I sat down with Mike on this project, and we started.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, interview this person. Hey, interview this person. I was like, man, okay. I was telling my wife, and it was this is the one that was the state senate.
Yeah.
And
Steve Hobbs.
And it was like, I'm just sitting here at Disneyland writing an email to state senator.
Yeah. It'll happen all the time. So here's the thing. People who are in politics are voracious political junkies. Like, that's just, and they read every day. Every day. They wake up, they've got 2-3 hours before they talk to a human being.
Oh. And they
just burn through, presumably through the internet, right? Yeah. But also, strict books on politics, on economics and stuff like that.
Hopefully briefs on stuff they're doing that day.
This is even before they get to that, right? Man. Like, every single elected representative on a national level that I've ever met has been hyper smart. You can look at the Steve Kings and the folks, and the really people that are just horrible people, and it turns out they're smart too.
Yeah,
which is really awful.
Yeah.
I want them to be dumb,
but
they just consume at an incredible rate. And so, I think this is exactly the kind of thing that they'll read. Now, it has to get to them, and that's our trick, is that we're going to send it to specific people in their offices, and we're going to say, make it addressed to them, and hopefully they'll get through the gatekeepers, and they'll say, I think you might want to read this. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool. And it took me like one of the reasons the book is so small is because I want it to be bite-sized.
Yeah.
I want somebody to be able to pick it up and just go, tuk, 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 tuk. I read it on the train ride in.
Yeah.
And in DC, there's always a train ride in. And so, because that's just the only way to get anywhere in Washington. And so, I think it's really cool that Pramila Jayapal is our congresswoman from Seattle, and I've interviewed her and talked to her a bunch of times, and she's been very encouraging about the stuff that we do because it actually affects decision making in ways that are impossible to track. But I know they're going to read it. And so, I think it'll be good. I'm hoping for really good things out of 2019. It's nice to feel like the good guys have the upper hand for a little while anyway.
Yeah.
And then we'll see.
Sweet.
So we ran a campaign.
Thank
you, Trevor.
Oh, thank you everybody out there too. Thank you, Mike. You guys wrote the book.
Yeah. It sometimes feels like that's the easy part.
Yeah, putting all our ideas on paper.
Yeah, it's great, but running the campaign means it's got to make contact with people who might turn you down.
Yeah, well, we still got to write the letter.
Yeah, we're gonna do
so
that.
You're all gonna still be seeing from us on that.
Yep.
And if you haven't, if you're watching this video later, make sure you hit the link that's on the campaign page there. I don't really have it in my head.
Don't have any idea how that works.
But hit that link, and then it'll take you to the page where you can fill out. Basically, it'll give us. We can ask for your district, but if you don't care, no, that's fine.
We'll figure it out. It's gonna be a big old board on our wall. We're gonna match everybody to different people. We'll have a pledge manager after this that'll allow people to modify their pledges and stuff like that. So it's all gonna be good.
Yeah, the big part that is there's a field to give what you want to see in that letter.
That's right.
We're probably not going to get in there word for word.
No,
but we are going to try to get all the good ideas we can onto a one piece of paper letter.
We did really like
all these Congress peoples.
We did really like what we got. Yeah. People took this really seriously. So
and Mike posted about that. Well, he wrote some stuff that I posted.
No, you wrote nearly all of it. That was me copying and pasting from our website. So anyway, so again, like if we haven't said it enough, as we're wrapping this up, thank you from Gabby and Max and Liz and Rich and everybody at Basket of Adorables, Shane, all the people at Loan Shark, all the people who supported us. We really appreciate it. And we'll keep making cool stuff.
Yeah. You'll hear from us soon.
Bye-bye.
Now how do you turn this off?
Aha, there.